A very good morning, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of ManageEngine to one another free training session on OpUtils. Before we get started with the session today, I request you to please confirm whether you can see my presentation as well as able to hear my voice. You can give me the confirmation by commenting in the webinar chat panel so that we'll be able to proceed with the training. Okay, we do have received the confirmation. Thanks for submitting the confirmation. Now we'll just get started with the training. L- Let me introduce myself. My name is Shrikant and I'm one of the product experts from ManageEngine. I'm going to be the presenter for today's webinar. So let's just get started by talking about the agenda for today's training. The agenda for today's webinar is as follows. First of all, I'll be introducing you to the OpUtils by giving some basic information what this tool is capable of doing, followed by the features, starting off with the IP address manager. Then you have the SwitchPortMapper, followed by the rogue device detection. Once we are done with the rogue device detection, we'll move ahead with networking tools, followed by the scheduling and notification options. And last but not the least, the reporting section of the OpUtils tool. In case if you have any questions during the webinar, please do feel free to raise them in the chat panel. We do have a set of panelists sitting along with us who will be able to answer your questions right away. Not just all, you will also be able to discuss those some of the interesting questions right after our webinar. So let's just get started with the first topic for the day, that is Introduction to OpUtils. OpUtils is a network utility tool from ManageEngine that helps you to manage the IP addresses and switch ports available in your network. Not only there, it also helps you to monitor the primary level metrics of your devices like availability monitoring, bandwidth monitoring, and then also helps you to take periodic backups of the configs available on your devices using the config manager tool. Then this tool also offers you a rogue intrusion feature that helps you to protect your network from the intrusion and the unauthorized devices accessing your network, followed by 20 plus utility tools that you can use it or also can come handy when you are troubleshooting your network issues. So if I talk about so much what OpUtil it is, so you probably be wondering what needs to be done, like what are the requirements to run the OpUtils in your network. As far as the system requirements is concerned, OpUtils requires very minimal because it's one of the efficient software from the ManageEngine. It needs a server that runs on either Windows or Linux-based platform on a 8 gigs of processor with quad-core running processor along with 40 GB of hard disk space. The database that comes bundled with the tool is the Postgres SQL, and also we offer you the option to integrate with Microsoft SQL. In case if you have any questions regarding the system requirements, please do feel free to reach the link that is mentioned on my screen so that you'll be able to have information about further more system requirement. With this, we'll move on to the next slide that is about the second topic for the day, IP address management. So like the name says, it helps you to manage the IPs. And before I get started with the features and how to perform the task of managing the IPs in your network through OpUtils, we should be knowing why exactly we do need an IP management software. Taking an example of an everyday task that is done by a network or a system administrator in assigning IPs to new incoming devices in their network. It's actually sounds easy because you don't have to worry about seeing all those IPs because it's not the only task that you'll be doing. But when it comes to multiple tasks for the day, then spending hours and hours of time in searching for an available IP for the new incoming device, it's actually a quite difficult task and it consumes a lot of time. In order to ease that process, you have to go with an option for IP management software. So that's the reason why we offer you to do that task using OpUtils IPAM that helps you to scan these IPs in minutes or even seconds to give you the most recently updated information about your IPs. So let's just get started how to add those IPs, and then we'll talk about the features of the IP management. In terms of adding these IPs for monitoring, it can be done through multiple options. You can either do it for an individual subnet by adding it manually, or you can also do it for multiple subnets. Since you have maintained a CSV file for maintaining the history of your IPs, you can also use that for importing those as a form of discovery to get all your subnets discovered and being managed through OpUtils. The third option is the DHCP itself, where you can integrate your DHCP with OpUtils and will be able to scan all the scopes, which in turn are your subnets under your DHCP, and get the updated status of the IPs under them. So let's just hop into the user interface and we'll be able to discuss about more what are the functionalities and how IPAM works. The OpUtils version that you're able to see on my screen is 12.5.145. And in case if you're on an older build, please contact the support team. They will be able to assist you with the upgrade and you can reach all the features that I'll be showing you today. So we are here with the IP address manager. This is how the user interface will look like and it's very intuitive. So you'll find no hard time in navigating from one place to another. Discovery process, it's also very easy because you do get the option right away on the screen. You can do it for an individual subnet using IPv4, and we also have the support for IPv6 subnets. For doing it for multiple subnets, you do get the option to do it through CSV file import, which can be done. And if you're worried about how the CSV file should be or what's the format of that CSV file, we offer you the sample file here. Then here is the option for adding it through DHCP server. When you choose the DHCP option, just give your IP of the server and choose the domain credentials that you have created, using which we'll be able to authenticate your DHCP to get the scope details. And once you have your IPs discovered, you will be able to see one beautiful summary view that gives you an entire status of your IPs that are being managed through OpUtils. Here, the IP status is classified under three categories. One is used if it's being utilized. If it's not being utilized, then it is shown as green, which is available. And the third criteria is the transient, which is more like a cooldown period between used and available. This criteria works when you are logging off on a Friday evening and you have to come back on Monday morning. There is a gap of 2 days and your IP will not be used in between. So instead of you getting assigned to a new IP, you can use this transient period that helps you to retain that same IP for the device for that one particular period of time. Which means if an IP is not being used for a certain period of time, then only it will be considered as available. Else it is only associated to that one specific device. And on the left-hand side, you can see there is a beautiful default group view, or also you can have multiple tree view like structure that helps you to sort the subnets based on multiple platforms. Helps you to understand how your subnets are being classified either based on departments, teams, flows, or geographical locations. And all this helps you to identify which subnet is where, and you can manage the subnets accordingly. And this also helps you out in filtering those subnets based on different criterias. Once you have your subnets imported, you will be able to see them under the subnet details where you can see the usage, their scan status. In order to perform a scan, you just have to select one individual subnet and you do get the scanning option here. Just not for one individual subnet, you can also do it for multiple subnet at once by selecting the checkboxes and do perform the scans. Once your subnets are scanned, you will be able to get the information about updated status of the IPs under this IP details page. where you can find various information. When I talk about the various information, it comes like IP address, MAC address, DNS name, which includes both forward and reverse lookup, followed by the DNS status. The DNS status is nothing but that gives you an intimation if any of the lookup fails, like a reverse lookup failed or a forward lookup failed, you get an intimation there. And the reserve status help you to reserve an IP for a specific device, allowing it to not get changing its status or not getting its device being switched from one specific IP to other. So that's how the reserve status works. Now we have just seen how exactly these IPs were discovered, and once these IPs were discovered, how to scan them and get their updated status. So this is how the information will look like. If it's available, you can see it's available. If it's being used, you get the MAC address, and if you have added your DNS server, you'll be able to get the information about your DNS names. For further information, just click on that IP name. You'll have a better view of how these IPs being utilized, which NIC it is connected, what is the alias name, authenticity, scope name, and further more information. If it's associated to any domain, you get the AD domain information there. So not only you just get to manage, if you would like to have a better view by sorting just to see what are the available. So the primary task was to know if you are going to assign a new IP to your device. So in that case, you should be knowing what are the device IPs that are available in your network. So for that, I'll apply a filter and you'll get to know what are the IPs available in that state. If you want to know what are them, or out of which IPs, you can see the used ones. You can also do the filter based on used profile and you get the information. So this is how your DNS name will look like. Moving on to the next tab, which includes the IP historical changes that were done to a particular IP address. Just like giving you an example here, today an IP was assigned to my laptop and after a few days it gets assigned to a different machine. You should be able to know where these historical changes were done or what were the historical changes that were done to an IP. The OpUtils gives you the privilege to retain those historical changes that were done over a certain period of time, and you can also import that or export that information in a form of report, either as PDF or CSV file right away from here, so that you'll have a record of what were the historical changes that were specifically done to an IP address. And last, any alarms related to the IPAM, you'll be able to see them under the alerts page where you can have information like overutilization of a subnet that can be generated as an alarm, followed by any new device gets assigned to an IP, that is an alarm. So likewise, any alarm related to the IPAM will be listed out under this one common page. I hope you were able to catch up with the features that I have explained. So in order to summarize what were the features that we have discovered, so let's just do a quick summary on that. We know that we were able to manage and monitor the status of the IPs in seconds. We know how to sort the IPs based on their categories used, available, or transient. You know, we were able to create a group view to in order to sort and have a better visibility of the subnets in your network. Then we saw how to get the MAC and the DNS name of the IPs associated, followed by the historical changes that were done to your IPs. And last but not the least, the scan, how to scan your subnets to get instant update on your IP status. So with this, we'll move on to the next topic for the day, that is SwitchPortMapper. How we exactly manage the IPs under the IPAM, like the name states here, we will be managing the ports available in your switches. That's what it's called. That's why it's called SwitchPortMapper. Here you'll be adding your switches across your network using the SNMP credentials. We do have support for SNMP v1, v2, and v3, followed by it needs read and write privileges. Write is just an option, but still giving write privileges gives extended actions that can be accomplished through this tool. I'll be showing you those actions when we hop into the user interface again. So let's just get started with how to discover the switches, and then we'll talk about how talk about more about SwitchPortMapper when we get into the user interface. Just similar to the IPAM, you get a discovery of an individual switch that can be done by getting its IP or name of the switch followed by the SNMP credentials. Then you have the CSV file import to upload a file where you can discover multiple switches at once. And last but not the least, if you don't have a CSV file, you don't have to worry because we do give you the option to scan an entire subnet and fetch all the switches across your network to be discovered and being managed for their ports under OpUtils. With this, we'll hop into the OpUtils user interface and we can have further more information. When I have to switch to the switchport mapper, it's very easy because just clicking on switchport mapper name, it will give me the access to the switchport mapper module. And here you have the summary page where you can have the classification of the ports that were assigned to the switches, whatever the switches that we have added so far. Again, the status is classified under three categories: used, available, and transient. In order to add your switches, it's very easy. Like I said, just one click and you have the discovery page popping up in front of your screen. Add manually gives you the privilege to add an individual switch using its IP or name. And here is the profile, that credential profile that you would have created. If you want to create furthermore, you can add credential and the created credential will list out on the same page here. Here is your import CSV file option. And if you're worried about how to create that CSV file, we are attaching a sample file for reference. The third option is for the discover, helps you to do a network scan and fetch all the switches across your network. And here also you get something similar to the IPAM. The tree view helps you to sorting the device based on multiple platforms like their locations, departments, teams, etc. And once your switches are added, you'll be able to see them under this one common page with their basic information like the IP, DNS name, followed by how many ports are there, and their usage percentage. And if you want to scan them, just select one individual switch and you do get the scan option here. For multiple switches, just select multiple switches across and do the scan for multiple switches at once. Once your switches are scanned, you'll be able to see them. Let me just click on any one particular switch and show you what are the information. This summary page will include the information about one specific switch. And you can see there are a total of 37 ports, out of which 7 are being used, 30 of them are being available. And if there are multiple VLANs, we also show you the count of the VLANs. Followed by the next tab, which is for the ports, gives you the information about where exactly the ports are being used. Not only their usage status, but also furthermore information like what is the if index of the interface, followed by the if name of that interface connected on the port. There you get the port number and the availability status. If it's available, green icon. Then if it's used, it's red. And transient state, it's in between, which is represented as orange icon. Also, this tool helps you to monitor the up-down status of the ports through the SNMP protocol. And if there are any device that is being connected, you get the MAC, and also followed by just not only the MAC, the connected IP, DNS name. And if there are multiple VLANs across your individual port, which is your physical port, then we also list out multiple VLANs along with the devices connected to each VLAN associated to that port. You get the same filtering options. And while I was discussing about the discovery, we requested for the write privileges. So what write privileges offer you here is you being an administrator can enable or disable an interface for a switch right away from this user interface. That action can be done. Like if there is a port like this, I want to administratively enable or disable the interface, you can do it from this user interface itself instead of manually logging into the tool or manually logging into your switch to perform that action. And also you can extract this information in a form of report right away from here by clicking on the CSV file or PDF option. And one of the coolest feature for about the switch port mapper is it gives you a virtual port view of the switch that you're monitoring. Let it be how many ports, it still gives you a virtual view. And just not only a virtual view, you can hover your mouse on individual port to get their status. You can get the information like what support number, if index and if name of that interface, if it's up or down, followed by the MAC and the IP associated to that one particular port. All that can be seen just when you move your mouse over that one particular port. And history, something similar to the IPAM that we have discussed. Any historical changes that were done to a port will be recorded here and helps you to retain that data for a certain period of time, and also allows you to extract that information in a form of report anytime you want. And alarms related to the switch will be listed out at this page, where you can have alarms like overutilization of ports. If a port is down or a switch itself is down, all that will be listed out under alerts page here. So let's just do a quick summary of what we have discussed about the features under the SwitchPortMapper. We know that the tool allows us to monitor the ports and also help us to manage its availability. We get a better view of the ports, how they are being utilized, complete information about the MAC and the VLAN connected, group and tree view for better sorting and understanding of how your switches are classified, administratively enabling and disabling feature for your interface that can come handy when you want to shut down a port immediately. And last but not the least, the port status that helps you to get information about the historical changes that were done to a particular switch port. Now we'll move ahead with the third topic for the day, that is rogue device detection. Like the name says, rogue device detection, it's called the identification of an unauthorized device that is trying to access your network resources. What our tool does is when you every single time scan your IPAM or the switch ports for managing the IPs and switch ports on your network, we also help you out with an additional feature called rogue device detection that helps you to identify any unauthorized device that's trying to access your network resources anytime. Not only during those scans, but rogue device detection also gets its own periodic scan that happens automatically and allows you to get the devices that are available in your network. Any new device in your network will be shown as discovered, and already predefined devices will be shown as trusted. So you being an administrator, choose what needs to be done with those newly discovered devices. So let's just get into the user interface and I can talk more about the rogue device detection feature here. So this is how the rogue device detection's user interface will look like, and you can see the discovered, trusted, rogue, and guest classifications. So whenever there is a scan that happens, we'll be able to list out what are the newly discovered devices. So you being an administrator, choose what needs to be done with them. You just have to select the device that were discovered and select what needs to be done with them. If you know the device is trusted and it's a valid one, you can mark that as trusted so that the device will not pop up again when we scan it for the future purposes. And then if you think the device is a guest user and trying to access your network for only for some period of time, then we do give you an access for marking it as guest, which means you will give them a validity for a certain period of time. And when that validity is over, you will get a notification so that you can do what needs to be done with that IP. If you want to extend that validity, you can do it. Or if you want to mark them as trusted, you can also do that. And the third criteria is marking them as rogue. When you mark them as rogue, you do get an additional privilege of blocking the switch port to which they are connected, which means you can restrict them from accessing your network resources further by blocking the switch port to which they are connected. And not only just rogue device detection stops there, it also has an intelligent mechanism that helps you to identify the spoofing of art happening in your network. And along with that, any notification related to the rogue device detection can be seen under the alarms page, or you can get a notification on that. So let's just quickly summarize the features that we have seen under the rogue device detection, and we'll move ahead with the other features for the day. So like I said, we are allowed to detect the unauthorized device which are accessing your network without your permission. Then you have the privilege being an administrator to authorize them or block them from accessing your network. You can mark the status, yeah. You can give them a guest validity, or you can just give them a trusted validity, or you can block them anytime on your choice. Just like I said, it helps you to identify the art spoofing happening in your network. And last but not the least, in order to add the trusted devices. So I just talked about how to get your trusted devices. So that can be done through multiple options. You can either upload a CSV file that can be done. Just uncheck this option and you can upload a CSV file that comprises of all the trusted devices. You can do that right away from here. Or you can also do that automatically by integrating it with your Active Directory, from where we can automatically get all your trusted devices or trusted users from your AD domain. And last but not the least, the periodic scans that are happening. Apart from the manual scan that you do it on your IPAM and switch port, rogue device detection also gets its own automatic scan that gets you updated information about the intrusion happening in your network. So with this, we'll move on to the next topic for the day, that is networking tools. The major tools that OpUtil has is IPAM, SwitchPortMapper, and the rogue device detection. But it also gives you complementary tools like networking tools that can come handy when you're monitoring any basic metric of a device in your network. When I talk about any basic metric, it could be availability, it could be a bandwidth utilization of an interface, or if you want to take a quick configuration backup of your switches, that can be done through OpUtils itself. So these are the three major network utility tools, but not just there. We also have another special tool that I'll talk about when we discuss about this networking tools. So we'll start off with our first networking tool, that is bandwidth monitor. Like its name says, it helps you to monitor the bandwidth utilization happening over an interface. It can be any interface for any device. You just have to add the device using SNMP protocol and you'll be able to capture all the associated interface and allow the tool to monitor it for bandwidth utilization. Not only monitor, but also can get notification if there is overutilization of the interface happening. Along with that, in case if you want to know how much individual utilization happen, you can have a graphical representation of that utilization along that comes along with this monitoring feature. Then you have the config file manager, which helps you to take periodic backups of the configs available in your network devices, which includes both startup and running configs. Not only just taking the backup, it also gives you an extended action of comparing those backups of same switches or multiple switches and helps you to identify the differences between the configurations that you are comparing at the moment. You can either manually get those backups done or also have a schedule that does the job for you automatically whenever it's needed. The third tool is the network monitor, or you can call that a ping tool for monitoring the availability of any device that comes within your network. Availability monitor can do monitoring based on real time and as real time because the polling interval happens in seconds. And along with the monitoring availability, you can also configure it to get yourself notified if the device goes down, or also can get notified if there is a increased amount of response time for the ping that we are sending it and checking the availability. So we have discussed the three major tools, but I said there is another special tool under the networking tools, that is the Wake on LAN feature. What Wake on LAN feature does is it helps you to implement the WL technology using this software to wake up a device either manually or based on a schedule from its sleep mode. So if there is a server that's almost like multiple floors across and under a sleep mode, you want to wake that up manually. You don't have to walk there right away and get that device up again. You can do that by implementing the WOL technology through OpUtils user interface. Sounds interesting, right? So I'll just hop back to the user interface and I'll show you all the networking tools in function. So in order to access the networking tools, you just have to click on this networking tools tab and you will have the access there. We'll start off with the bandwidth monitor. So bandwidth monitor, once you have to discover, click on discover interface, just give your IP or the name of the device, followed by the SNMP credentials, which allows you to get all the device along with the interfaces associated to them right away here for being monitored. Just click on the device name, you will have the access to the interface traffic for a specific interface. You'll have current traffic followed by daily, monthly, and the yearly traffic. Any alarms related to that interface will be listed out under this one common page. And you also do get multiple actions like ping, SNMP ping that can be done for any device to resolve any information that you need to access. Now we move ahead with the config file manager, which helps you to take the periodic backup. So you need to add the switches through the SNMP protocol, along with you can do for an individual device using its IP name or host name, followed by the CSV file import for doing a bulk discovery of the switches that needs to be discovered. Once it's done, you do get the config backup that can be triggered. And if you want to view those backups that were taken, you do get the option to compare here. Like I said, you can do a comparison of two backups of the same switch or two backups of different switches anytime and get the differences or what were the new lines added, or if there was an existing line which was modified, all that will be visible here. In order to scan, you just have to select and you do have the backup option that will trigger the backup anytime you want. The third tool we'll be talking about is the network monitor, which again in turn is your availability monitoring. Just click on add device and you'll be able to add the devices. Individually can be done through IPs or host name. For multiple devices, you do get the CSV file format option. The polling interval will be in seconds like 20, 40, 1 minute, 2 minutes based on your requirement. And in case if the device goes down, you get a notification. And for response time, you do get the option to configure the thresholds, which we'll be talking later today. And the last but not the least, the wake on LAN feature. You can add the device using the discovery option here, provide the IP MAC and which subnet does it belong to. So it is not necessary that you just need to keep the device in same subnet. Even if it's on a different subnet or a different VLAN, you can also perform the WOL technology to wake up your device from the sleep mode through this user interface. And if you want to add the devices from the subnet, you can also do that option. Once it's done, just select this action icon, which will allow you to wake up the device from its sleep mode. If you want to scan it manually, you can do it, or if you want to trigger it for multiple devices, you do get the option here. And not only there, wake on LAN stops, we also give you an extended action of knowing the summary of what were the various tasks that were done on that one particular device, more like a historical actions that were done on a specific device. And what's the status of its execution, whether it was successfully executed or whether it was not. You get an intimation and you get to keep the track of those actions. So these were the major networking tools that OpUtils has to offer, but here you also get an option to have access to close to 20 plus networking tools that can come handy when you are troubleshooting your network issues as a network admin in your everyday life. These tools might not sound big enough, but they do come handy when you're troubleshooting your network issues. So we'll just talk about them when we hop into the user interface right away. So toolsets can be accessed by clicking on the toolset icon on the top, and you'll have the access to all those tools. If you want to know whether the device is available or not, you can have a ping option to check its availability. If you want to know SNMP ping to check whether the device is reachable through SNMP protocol, that can be done. If you want to resolve a MAC for an IP, you can get the option to MAC address resolver. System details update, which helps you to update information like sys name, sys location, or sys contact. So you don't have to manually log in into the switch to get or any device to update these information. You can do that task right away from the user interface of OpUtils itself. Likewise, there are also other tools like if you are using a Cisco devices, you do have the option to explore the device explorer. What it does is it helps you to explore what device metrics are. So you get the option metrics that can be seen like what's the serial number, what is the kernel version. So all that information will be listed out when you use the device explorer option to explore your Cisco devices. You have the web browser to get immediate a response for any specific OID. So if you're planning to create a custom monitor or you want to know what's the current status of any object ID, what an device response for an object ID, you can use this MIP browser to get that response. You can also upload a custom MIP from your vendors based on your device type, and you can use that MIP to check the response from the device anytime. Likewise, there are also other tools that can be accessed under the tool sets. They do come as a complementary without any licensing. And not only there under the tool set, you do get the option to have access to those particular tool sets right away from here, because you can perform a ping, SNMP ping, resolve a DNS for an IP right away from here. So these are the benefits that I had explained, like it's very easy and it's very useful. Followed by it helps you to reduce the time that you spend on analyzing your network issues, because you can achieve that task using these tool sets in no matter of time. With this, we'll move on to the next topic, the scheduling and notification option. So far, whatever the features that I have shown you under the IPAM for scanning your subnets, for SwitchPortMapper, scanning your switches, for rogue device detection, network monitor, bandwidth monitor, config file manager, I have shown you how to get manual scans done. But what if I tell you this tool also helps you to automate these scans on your behalf and get you automated updated status for all the information that you get to manage through OpUtils. So that's all is about the scheduling here. Schedule, you can have the option to get your IPs and port status updated automatically at a particular interval through the scans. You can get your network checked for any intrusion or unauthorized devices. You can get your MAC IP relations, and these scans are so customizable that you can get these scans done at user convenient time period. So let's just hop into the scheduling option. You can access this scheduling option under the settings. You just have to go to the scheduler. You do get the scheduler option for all the platform under one common page. Active directories and routers to get yourself MAC and IP relations done. Then you have the IPAM. You get to add a task that helps you to perform a scan for all these subnets or multiple subnets at once automatically. Same is the case with your SwitchPortMapper that helps you out in scanning the switches at your user convenient time period. DHCP scans to get yourself updated on the scopes and the IPs under your DHCP. And this is here for the config file manager. And last but not the least, the wake on LAN feature, where you can add a task that helps you to wake the devices from its sleep mode on a particular period of time. And as far as the notification, OpUtils helps you to get yourself notified for any alarm that comes across in your OpUtils user interface. So there are predefined criteria that helps you to get yourself notified either be through email or a syslog profile. So if you have a syslog receiver server, you can make sure that OpUtils is forwarding those alarms in the form of syslog message to that particular server, where it can be later processed by your syslog server. So let's just hop into the user interface so that I'll be able to show you the notification methods that we offer. In order to access the notification, just hop into the settings, OpUtils, and you'll have the email notification. Just click on the email notification. You will have access to all the platform or criteria that you can make sure that on which condition you should be getting notified about. There are IP related notifications. So if there is a utilization, overutilization or underutilization, you can configure the thresholds by clicking on that hyperlink. You do get the access there. Same is the case with SwitchPortMapper. Just have to toggle this email icon and you'll start receiving emails when there is problematic error happens related to the criteria that you have chosen. Same is the case with for rogue device detection. So if there is ARP spoofing, this is what I was talking about. You can enable the email so that you can get notification if there is ARP spoofing happening in your network. If there is a guest validity that expires, you do get that option here. Network monitor, which is our availability monitoring, helps you to get notified if the device is down. And this is the threshold for your response time to get yourself notified. And you can also pre-configure the metric, like how the email should be, whether it should be a critical or it should be a healthy warning. You can make sure that the severity is pre-configured based on the email, and multiple emails can be done for the notification by separating those email IDs through comma. And here is your option for the bandwidth monitor to configure. If you want in and out traffic, both traffic, the threshold configurations, all that can be done here to get yourself notified on the event occurrence of overutilization for any interface. Now we are here moving ahead with the report section, which is the last topic for today's webinar. Anything you monitor on OpUtils, you are allowed to extract that information in a form of report. There are predefined reports that covers wide range of metrics that are being monitored and give you in a much detailed way or in a readable format. And all these reports can be exported either as a PDF or CSV file, and also do get the option for being scheduled. So you don't have to manually generate those reports. You can make sure that the reports are being extracted and sent it across to your mail ID at the particular interval. Like you want a hourly report, monthly, daily, you can do get the scheduling option applicable here. So let's just give you an example of what are the reports that we offer. So these are the predefined reports that can give you maximum information. So if you want to get DHCP related reports, there are DHCP reserved IPs, leased IP reports are there, IP usage summary report that gives you the complete summary of how your IPs are being utilized in your network. And here you go with the option to extract these in the form of PDF and CSV file. And if you're looking for a report that helps you to merge an information from both IPAM and switchport, you do get an option here, which is connected IP details. Helps you to merge the information from both the modules, give you more detailed information about what's happening in your network and what exactly you are managing. You get the complete switch name, the port number, if index, which is the interface if index, name of that interface, followed by the VLAN, IP address, MAC, and the DNS name of the device connected on that particular port. You get that complete set of information. And in order to get them sorted or filtered based on switches, you can do that. For switch groups, you can also do that based on groups. And all these reports that I have been showing you allows you to extract or export them in a form of PDF and CSV file anytime. And here you go with the scheduling option. Just click on add schedule and you're allowed to create a schedule that helps you to extract that information in a form of report, which will be sent across to your mail ID at a particular interval anytime. So with this, we'll be winding up the session for the OpUtils, but before that, we'll also be discussing the questions that were raised from your end. Before we proceed towards the question and answer session, so let's just do a quick summary of the entire webinar session that happened today. What we exactly get out of the OpUtils. So why do we need OpUtils? Why should we choose OpUtils? So during the OpUtils webinar session, we were able to discuss about how the tool is able to ease the operation of managing the IPs in your network, followed by the switch ports in your network, where they're exactly connected and give you the exact updated status in no real time. Then you have the feature to protect your network through rogue intrusion feature. And there are networking tools that come handy in monitoring the bandwidth, availability, config file manager to take periodic backups. And also there is an option for doing wake out LAN feature, implementing it in your network. And last but not the least, the tool sets, close to 20 plus tool set that helps you to troubleshoot your networking issues. And you also can do that task by automating it using scheduler function, followed by getting notified for all those actions that happen in your OpUtils tool for while monitoring your IPAMs and switch ports through email and syslog forward messages. And last but not the least is the reporting section, where you can monitor the audit reports or historical changes that were done, and whatever the metric you get to monitor in your IPAM and switch ports, all that can be done and extracted in a form of report. So in short, if I have to say that, you can say goodbye to the intense efforts that you had been spending on managing your IPs through spreadsheets, and also you can say a bye to the spreadsheets for managing the ports. So because OpUtils will do the task for you in no time and make the operation easy for you. So with this, we'll move on to the question and answer sessions. We do appreciate that you had very interesting questions that were raised by the attendees. So we have chosen some of the interesting ones. So let's get started with our first question for the day. Does OpUtil support Linux-based DHCPs? Yes, I have shown you the feature of the DHCP so far, which supports the Active Directory based on WMI, which is again Windows. So the tool as of now only supports the Windows, but we do have the roadmap for Linux based, and we are expecting it to get released in the Q3 of 2020. The next question is how to create custom group names and also add custom fields. As far as creating a custom group name, it's quite easy because you can do it while discovering the device or the subnet itself. When you click on add subnet, you do get the option for group name. Click on this add icon, you'll be able to insert a custom group name that you would like to see, which allows you to see helps you to create a custom group name here. And for custom fields, just click on settings and just go to the settings, and you'll have the IPAM and custom columns. So if you want to create a custom column, just hop in here if it's IPAM. And for SwitchPortMapper, just go to the SwitchPortMapper module, and you'll have the access to creation of custom columns here. Just click on add custom column, and you'll be able to create a custom column based on your requirement. The next question for the day is, I'm unable to view the DNS name of the device connected to IP. What should I do to get proper DNS name? Okay, that's an interesting one because OpUtils does use the DNS information available on the server where you have installed OpUtils. So in that case, the maximum chances of the resources, the availability of the all the networks in DNS name will be the access to the multiple DNS name will be minimal because the server itself will not have much information. So in that case, yeah, we do give you the option to add your external DNS servers that can be done under the IPAM. Just go to the IPAM settings, IPAM and general. You do have the option to add your DNS server here. And if there are multiple DNS servers that needs to be added, you can use comma as a separation metric to add multiple DNS servers instantly. And once done, just save the configuration and try scanning your subnet so that you'll have the DNS name replicated on that metric which was missing previously. So we'll move on to the next question, that is how to retrieve MAC address connected to an IP information if my switches added for monitoring does not have the ARP information. All right, it's not necessary to have all the switches that are being monitored to have the ARP information. Some switches might have VLANs that go across your network and it will not have information about the ARP there. So in that case, we do give you an option to add your routers. What basically routers does is you can add your layer 3 router, which helps you to get the ARP information, which is MAC, basically the MAC and IP relation available across your multiple networks, and help our tool to get uh, help in establishing a connection between the IP and MAC. So when you scan your switch ports or scan your IPs, you'll be able to get the information about the MAC associated to it through this router's ARP information. Now we'll go ahead with the further questions. The next question we have is, does config file manager support Cisco switches? Yes, it does. Cisco switches supported for taking a backup using TFTP SNMP protocol. We do support them for capturing the backups. What is the least polling interval for your network monitor? For monitoring the availability, the least polling interval that I've shown you is for 20 seconds as of now, which is almost real time, and a maximum of 60 minutes can be done. And you can also toggle between multiple time frames that are available here. The next question is, what are the benefits of using WOL through OpUtils? That's an interesting question. You can actually execute WOL through just a command. Just a command that will be implemented through OpUtils. But what are the benefits when you go through OpUtils using this WOL command? If you do it on your own, there are maximum chances of you damaging the hardware because the device itself will be in a sleep mode. And if it's a physical device, you might end up damaging the hardware. Second is the privacy and the vulnerability. If you're planning to do that option on your own, in that case, you'll need to open a certain port, which eventually will make sure that your network is prone to vulnerabilities. So when you go through the OpUtils will prevent and make sure that there is no damage done to your hardware metrics. Along with that, it happens on a secured communication channel. So in that case, you can make sure that the tool is sending the WL command without any chance of threat to your network. And also it's very easy to do that. So you don't have to stress yourself by typing in the command and searching for the new commands for specific devices. You can just get it implemented using the user interface, one click, and your device is up in no time. Do we have the sample format for uploading CSV file? That's our next question. Okay. Yes, we do have sample files across different platforms. For IPAM, yeah, we do have separate ones. You can just go there under the discovery channel of each module allows you to extract a sample file, which gives you an access to see how exactly the file should be before you upload it your own file. The next question we have is, can we set thresholds for port utilization percentage on my switch? Yes, we do have that option. In order to have that option enabled, just go to the settings and SwitchPortMapper. Under the SwitchPortMapper, click on Configure Alerts, where you can see the alerts related to the SwitchPortMapper. There you can see there's a port utilization falls below, which gives you an hyperlink. Clicking on that hyperlink will allow you to configure the thresholds for that. Same is the case with port utilization falls above percentage. We can also have the option to configure the thresholds for this option. The next question, on what basis OpUtils is licensed? Can you explain more about in detail? OpUtils license metric is based on the number of used IPs and used switch ports available in your network. So if you have an IP subnet that is being monitored for 255 IPs and you need and there are only close to 100 IPs that are being used. So in that case, the licensing will be based on those 100 IPs where you get to manage the 255 IPs in that subnet. Same is the case with the switch port mapper. It's based on the used ports available on your switches. Along with that, there is a user-based license helps you to log in as many as users you want. So in that case, the licensing metric is based on the used IPs under IPAM, used switch port under switch port mapper, and the number of user logins that you need to access the OpUtils user interface. So those were the interesting questions. So with this, we'll catch up for the next webinar session that will happen in another few months. So in case if you have missed any part of the webinar session, please do visit our YouTube channel. We'll be uploading it along with the other tech videos. And there is a link for the help document of the OpUtils. And also I'm attaching the link for the forum where you can have the technical conversation happening. You can raise your technical queries and our product consultants will be able to answer your questions. And here we have the OpUtils-support at ManageEngine.com. That's our support channel where you can reach our support team anytime. We do have support for 24/7 as of now. And also you can reach our support through the mobile phone using the phone number mentioned on my screen. Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful time that you have spent for the webinar session today. I hope we meet up for the another session that will happen in another few months. You will be receiving the notification on that. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.